Greetings and welcome to an LGR thing about a graphics card, a very special one from 1999, one that I always lusted after but never quite got the opportunity to take home, and that is the Voodoo 3 3500 TV that not only provided the fantastic Voodoo 3 GPU on the card, but a slew of TV tuner stuff and capture things and FM radio, and of course, all of the 3DFX glide mode goodness that you would expect in '99. And while technically better and faster than the Voodoo 3 3000, this is actually the highest clocked Voodoo 3 that was ever made from the factory, had some interesting caveats. In particular, this whole thing, quite a dongle situation, but you know what? It's gonna be interesting, so it's 1999, let's go back and enjoy some Voodoo. Alright, so before I get this unboxed again and actually set up with a computer this time, let's go over a little bit of history and context, because it's LGR and that's what I do. Because the Voodoo 3 3500 AGP was one of the very best graphics cards that money could buy 25 years ago. One that was revealed at the E3 convention in 1999, about half a year after the launch of the Voodoo 3 2000 and 3000 models. And I haven't found footage of their actual booth, but they sure did advertise it at E3 back then, as I could find these signs, the iconic Voodoo eyes up above the halls, and this old footage of the show. And being one of the top-end video cards of its time, it had a price to match with a hefty $250 price tag. In June of 1999 when it came along, so it was around $470 adjusted for inflation in 2024, and considering the price of high-end cards now, that seems quaint. But no joke, it really was at the top end. This was tied for the most expensive GPU back then with the Matrox Millennium G400 Max, and that was a 32 megabyte card with 32-bit rendering, twice that of the Voodoo 3. Although arguably its main competitor was the NVIDIA Riva TNT2 Ultra, which was the other really high-end card of the time, and that thing only cost $229 and outperformed the V3 3500 in many tests, but of course that was Direct3D and OpenGL only. It did not do 3DFX glide mode. It's also worth noting that the 3500 TV was only available as an AGP 2-speed card. There was no PCI option like with the lower-end Voodoo 3s. It certainly wasn't the only noteworthy thing about it. There was all kinds of upgrades going on here, beyond its video and radio capabilities, of course. Namely, its 183 MHz core and memory clock speed. And it was pretty common to overclock Voodoo 3 3000s, especially when you started adding cooling and better capacitors and working with the models that happen to have faster memory chips installed from the factory, but this is just faster right off the bat. The 3500 TV was the fastest Voodoo 3 sold at retail by 3DFX. And by comparison, its 183 MHz was up from 143 MHz on the 2000 model and 166 on the Voodoo 3 3000. And there's a compact OEM variant of the 3500, but without the TV and FM tuner stuff and with a regular VGA output built into the card instead of relying on a dongle. As shown in this rather excellent video by Pixel Pipes a few years back, it actually goes into a nice comparison with the TNT2 Ultra and benchmarks those against each other and goes into some wonderful historical context. And one more variant that might exist is the Falcon Northwest one, the 3500 TV SE, which apparently was clocked at 200 MHz. Reportedly made at the behest of Falcon for their Mach 5 computers of the time, and those PCs are legendary beasts. It's easily one of my all-time most wanted systems to this day, like the 1998 to 2000 models. That's beside the point though. This Voodoo 3 3500, just the regular one that you could buy at retail, it got good reviews and was rated well for solid performance, but the common recommendation at the time seemed to be just wait for a sale, or just wait, period, because the next generation of graphics cards were coming by the end of 1999. Specifically the new Voodoo cards like the Voodoo 4 and 5, and NVIDIA's first GeForce card, which would be the GeForce 256. and it was also dinged by reviewers back then for its cumbersome breakout box dongle thing and its clunky and limited TV software and resolution that you could capture things in. And you know, it was just basically like pretty darn good if you didn't have anything else, but depending on what you were coming from and what you were going to, it might not make sense anyway. Kind of beside the point, doesn't matter. Let's open this thing up and try it in 2024. Great, so I'm just going to speed through this unboxing, seeing as I've already done it before, so this is just sort of a re-unboxing. I put it all back how it was though, and yeah, if you want to see the full unboxing experience as it was from the factory, you can watch that original video on LGR Blurbs from when I first got it, but still haven't touched it since. It's stayed as fresh as when I received it. The card still looking lovely and just unused, uninserted, or installed. Dang it, I hope it works. The rest of the stuff in here is pretty self-explanatory. You got your registration card, a little bit of paperwork, some CDs, a full version of Unreal, the software and drivers for the Voodoo card, an audio cable to go from the card to your sound card or device, and a bit of paperwork about MPEG 2 recording, a little quick installation guide going into some stuff, and this right here, which I find amusing just because of all the articles I saw back in the day. Whoops. It's spring-loaded. Yeah, all the articles saying that, oh, it comes with a copy of Unreal, but it also comes with an upgrade. And it's just a fully different game, UT99, but you can get a copy of that sent to you in the mail, which is, yeah, a pretty good deal. But yeah, the card itself is fascinating just because we do have this big old TV tuner section. I don't exactly know what the two RFs one do, or I don't remember. I probably looked it up before, but I'm assuming just inputs for radio and TV. And you have this that looks like DVI, but it is not. It's its own proprietary thing that connects to the dongle, the big old breakout box AV pod thing. So that's that end right there that goes to the card, and then that's where you get your VGA, connect to your monitor, and the rest is just S-video and composite input and output. It's got to say somewhere what these ports do. I'm assuming just coax for, like obviously hooking in like cable or a cable box or... All right, so yeah, FM and TV input. So you could hook in like an FM antenna there. And yeah, either a TV cable box or over-the-air antenna, a coax connection. So you're not going to be using like one of these type of FM antennas, which I've done on other FM radio devices for computers that I've shown here in LGR. But yeah, let's get this thing plugged in and just swap out the Voodoo 3 I already have in there, and we'll do some comparisons between them and test out all this stuff it came with. Yeah, these Voodoo 3s run hot, so if I was going to run the 3500 for very long, I'd definitely put a fan on. So do we really need this is the question. I mean, I'm assuming. Yeah, just a bunch of information about the software. Note about MPEG 2 recording. This is an encoding format that's the latest technology for transmitting high quality video for DVD players, satellite TV, and HD TV. I mean, I'm assuming you can only pick up SD TV, but it mentions HD, which is interesting. I know that was not on my radar in 1999. All right, so connect the stereo cable from the audio out connector on the Voodoo to one of these stereo audio ins on your sound card. Connectors which are delightfully not marked on the card itself. The left one's in, the right one's out. Obviously it's all HD TV now in terms of over-the-air stuff. And I don't have cable or satellite or anything, but I do have one of those converter boxes, so maybe we'll try that. If not, we'll just plug something in directly through an RF modulator. Alright, so audio is connected to the AW64 Gold CD input, so we'll see if that works. And now, it's dongle time. It's just so clunky. I mean, I get why they did it, but at the same time, I really wish they didn't. There were all kinds of better options than this back then. It's just so heavy. Look at that. Oh, it doesn't make it feel good at all. Like, oh, it feels like it's gonna, I don't know, do some kind of damage. It's so stiff and just, ugh. There's not much give to this at all. Gotta be careful with this. All right, get the dongle propped up down there and sort of supported so it's not putting so much weight on the connector. Let's just power it on. See what we get. Okay now, come on. There we go. There we go. Voodoo 3 3500 TV BIOS. Heck yeah, dude. Got a working card so far. All right, well, it sees it as a Voodoo 3, so it's a good sign, I guess. Restart. Well, it's been sitting here for 2 minutes. Not sure what's going on. That just randomly started. That took like 4 minutes. Do not know why it took that long, but it did. All right, there we go. So it does say 183 megahertz graphics clock speed. So that's awesome. TV out supported. Dude, heck yeah. And you can see what we had before, 166. This is just the regular Voodoo 3 3000. So we have this 3DFX TV thing. Output to TV, we can do that. Yeah. Okay, so let's get some 3DFX software installed. I'm also curious to see what that editing stuff that it comes with is. Looks like ULEAD something or other, as well as WinDVD, of course. Well, it has been a couple of days, and yeah, it's because things never work. I mean, they're kind of working now, but it took a few setups and probably 8 or 9 hours of troubleshooting at least. And it's still kind of iffy, but that's because there's things happening here that I wasn't anticipating. So the 3500 in particular originally had this going on is the Mega Lumina Monster, and that was running Windows Millennium Edition that had a Voodoo 3 and the sort of latest drivers that worked well. And it worked very well, actually, as a gaming card, like running Quake 3 and Forsaken stuff, running beautifully, but it would not run any of the TV and FM stuff and all these other things that kind of make this special. So I tried another set of drivers and that didn't work, and tried another set of software and another set of drivers, like some beta ones, that didn't work either. Switched over to Windows 98 and that also didn't work. It was conflicting, or something was going on weird with the way that it was set up for the Voodoo 3 3000 and the 3500. I didn't know this, but apparently the drivers are different enough that they just are kind of their own thing. And so I went over to this completely fresh install of Windows 98. I've done pretty much nothing but add the Voodoo 3 3500 stuff to it. This is from the CD-ROM. This is the version of the software and drivers and everything that I've been able to get to work the best. And yeah, this works. So there's none of the Voodoo 3 3000 stuff, but in turn that also makes games, they don't really run well and they're kind of glitchy and stuff. So whenever we get around to doing gaming benchmarks, I'm gonna go back to those other drivers and another SD card with another version of Windows. Anyway, this is the 3DFX television program, and boy would this have been awesome to use back in 1999, 2000, heck, even into the early 2000s. I don't know, I always found TV capture on a PC pretty fascinating. Really though, if you've used pretty much any capture software or device up to the modern day, it's more or less the same, except this, of course, has more analog TV stuff built in than your standard HDMI deals today. So we've got the TV tuner here, S-Video and Composite, which go through the breakout box down there. And since we're on Composite, let's try this here, which I have hooked in. This is the Panasonic SD4090 Super Disc camera, which I featured on LGR not too long ago. It's got the video output there so that you can view your photos and video clips and such through Composite on a TV or a TV tuner. I mean, it looks great on a CRT. Actually, it looks better on here than it does on the TV that I was using. It's kind of soft. It's not a particularly good capture, but I kind of like it. Like, it actually does these photos and things some favors, because you know, it's a camera from 1999, but it's wonderful for a little window within Windows. Of course, you could plug in game consoles or anything else that you wanted. You're going to be getting some latency, lag, whatever, but you could do it. And that's for the TV tuner. This is expecting the way it's set up here, analog over the air kind of stuff. Yeah, just broadcast. Now, you could hook up like a cable box and do that, but I don't have anything like that. So you could tune to whatever channel you want to, and it's not going to find anything. Because yeah, over the air analog signals, those broadcasts went down years ago. What I do have though is one of these TV digital to analog converter boxes. This is a little Magnavox guy down on the floor, and yeah, these are pretty darn popular for a brief period in time as everybody was switching over here in the US from analog to digital. Let me just turn this on and it'll immediately start picking up something, maybe. All right, so we've got some soccer of some kind going on, and yeah, it's actually picking up okay right now. Being a digital signals here in the mountains and just, oh, there it is. Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably not gonna hold up for very long, because it never does. These signals aren't great, and they never have been. In fact, I've never liked digital TV. It's either you get it clearly or you don't, and it just goes away, or it starts getting corrupt and annoying, which again, here in the mountains, in the woods, it can get cloudy or windy and the signals will just go away. They've never been very strong. And I do have the antenna put over there by the window, and it's as good as I can get it here anyway. So it just kind of is what it is. And unfortunately, because it's all going through this box, if you tune to other channels through the software, it's not going to be able to do anything because it needs to be on channel 3, and all the channel changing for the different signals is just going through the box and the remote here. Yeah, let's see if we can get something going with the VCR here. And I say see if because it's a little iffy. So we can, in theory, record 320 by 240, 30 FPS footage in MPEG-2, or you can go over to AV, uncompressed, and go down to different things here. But no matter what setting I use, I have not got this to work. Hit record. Yes, the audio is correct. And we hit start to start capturing. In theory, it is capturing what we see here. Just let this go for about 10 seconds. And yeah, so it's shrunken down the resolution. We should have a 320 by 240 video file of around 10 seconds or something, right? Let's hit stop. And this is what we get. It's like a 4 seconds of, what was it, 10 or 12 that we actually recorded or tried to, and only a couple of them actually have any motion. It just starts crapping out after that. So I think there is actually an issue with the storage device I'm using. So this is running off of an SD card, just because it's the easiest thing to do because I'm constantly going back and forth between OSs, and it's a SCSI 2 SD. And while it's a pretty fast interface and certainly a fast SD card, it doesn't work well with this at all. And I've noticed that that's definitely a setback, a drawback with this particular interface. So I think it's just down to that. I'm sure this worked fine back in the day on like a nice hard drive, but this doesn't have a hard drive, has an SD card, so it's a little weird. Let's put it down here just to see if it does any better. Okay, that definitely did a little better, but see, it has the same problem in terms of it writes a bit and then it freezes up. Yeah, it did a little better at the lower resolution and frame rate, but I'm still not able to get more than a couple seconds of video actually capturing with motion. Gonna do some of these other trick features just fine though, like capturing a still image. Ooh, there we go. Or freeze frame. Freeze frame, yeah, there we go. How fancy. I can zoom in on different parts of the image, like what's down there? Oh my goodness, look at that. This is pretty cool for 1999. Of course, the other big thing is FM radio, and you can access that right here with this horrible interface. There is text here. Like it says tuning and seek and stuff. You can barely read anything. At least it picks up better than TV, so we'll just hit the seek here, and eventually we'll find something, probably religious or country music, because that's just what we get. Yep. Some others pre-programmed in, so. Oh, annoyingly, there are no controls on here for recording or setting up a timer to have something turn on or whatever. Like, it's the most basic version of an FM tuner that I have, I think, ever seen. Like, I did a video a while back about, what was it, a mouse or something that had an FM tuner, and that was way more fully featured. Obviously, you could get an external program and record that way, but it's why they don't have anything built into here when you got all these recording features on the TV side, I have no idea. If we got an FM transmitter going around, we can tune into This Week in Retro Radio.
And for $156 for the Mega Pack, which will, I think, give you the I/O board, so you get more connectivity and a USB hub, I think. $156 for a complete Mr. setup is incredible.
I agree, Dave. And really, that's about it in terms of the TV and radio stuff. I did try it with some other programs too, so like Dscaler here, which is something that in theory it could work with, but it just doesn't know what to do with it. Again, might be a driver issue or who knows. We do have some other stuff that it came with though on the CD, like Enter Video Win DVD, probably the oldest version of this I've used. Wow, what a beautiful 90s composition. However, this is not without its quirks, and I don't know why, so let me go for a DVD here. We're gonna Lethal Ladies collection, some Firecracker here. And yeah, I don't know what is going on with the sound in particular. Yeah, that is not supposed to sound like that. It's like tinny and bit crushed, and it sounds weirdly like 8-bit, and I don't know why. There was also that green flickering. I didn't see that last night. And it is going through an AUX64 Gold, but like, you know, it's maxed out in terms of the settings, sample rate conversion, and all that stuff. So I really don't. I don't know. That I've never had a DVD playback sound like that. It's just so strange. And again, what is with that green flicker? Finally, we've got ULEAD Video Studio 3 SE, 1998. Got 90s kid surfing through the virtual reality right there. And oh man, I love old school video editing programs, and this one. The interface alone is just glorious. I mean, look at this. All these delightful transitions you can apply, and these 3D sliding effects, and all the wipes, the peels, the pushes, the stretches. Oh yeah, let's get this preview render going. Again, the effects, the video toaster rip-offness, but the fact that you don't need any special hardware to do this in '98 is really awesome, I think. I would have loved it. You know, I did love this. A later version. ULEAD Video Studio was what I first started out with, my first video editor, I believe. And yeah, even some of my earliest LGR episodes were edited using a much later version of Video Studio. Well, it tried. Oh, there we go.
Hey Mom, since we can't be there in person, here's a little video of the family and what we've been up to lately. I hope you like it, and we can't wait to come up and see you. Come on, son, take it to the basket.
Alright, you ready?
Oh,
Yeah!
Amazing.
happy birthday to you.
We'll blow out the candles for you, okay? Here we go. Happy birthday!
We'll see you.
Just phenomenal. You know, again, I think I'm being held back by that SD card interface. Like, it's fine until it's not. And doing certain things, it really just flops, especially like streaming media from it. So yeah, I really just need to put like an actual hard drive for a lot of these programs and stuff in here, and then use the SD card to the OS. Uh-oh. That just fully froze up on me as I was trying to do something else, so I guess we'll move on. And what I want to move on to is, of course, gaming. That's the biggest reason I wanted a Voodoo card back in the day, and that's why I got a Voodoo 3 3000, but the 3500 TV is supposed to be quicker, right? So, trying out Quake 3 though, and well, you know how I said with these drivers and like, it gave me wall hacks. Yeah, you can see people through the walls. Something is very wrong here with these 3500 drivers. And again, these are the only ones that I could get to work with the TV side of things. So I'm going to try and just upgrade to the, or I guess side grade, I don't know, something grade, to the regular Voodoo 3 3000 drivers. All right, so we've swapped over to the regular Voodoo 3 drivers, the ones I use with my 3000 typically. 800 by 600, maxed out all the things. Oh yeah, here we go. As it should be. Oh my goodness. Splash damage. Yeah. The Voodoo 3 3500 drivers, they just completely screw up games, at least the ones that I've tried. And like I said, I've tried 3 different versions. None of them work, but as soon as I go over to just the regular old Voodoo 3 drivers, it's wonderful. So now that we've got this going, I'm going to run through some benchmarks. So, of course, Quake 3 is going to be one of them. We'll run the time demo. on this and the regular Voodoo 3 that I had in here before this, and do some comparisons, see how much better or barely noticeable difference it'll be. I don't know. I haven't actually done them side by side yet, but yeah, it's just wild how big a difference the drivers make. Yeah, it's this one right here, the 4.12.01.0666 from November 2000. But now when you try to run the 3DFX TV application, wow, it's actually working this time. Huh. Well, that's interesting. This was not functioning at all when I had the other setup going. Yeah, this is actually working now. Well, what the heck? I genuinely thought that these drivers did not work with the TV, but I mean, we're not getting FM. I wonder how the DVD does. I mean, the sound is still odd, but I'm not getting any of that like green flashing anymore. Wow, okay. Somehow this is working now. It completely was not the past couple days that I've been trying this. Really, the only other difference that's going on here is a completely fresh Windows 98 installation. It wasn't working with Windows Me, and it wasn't working with my existing installation of Windows 98 that I normally use on this machine with the Voodoo 3 3000. I don't even know. Duke, what's going on? Well, anyway, let's try some different things here. So, Quake 3, we'll start with that. And yeah, we're just running the time demo 1 console command and demo 4 and having this map play out as fast as it can, and it just takes however long it needs to render out all the frames. And it's one that I've chosen not only because it's Quake 3 and Quake 3 is fun to benchmark on all these things, but it's also a go-to from back in the day. And in 1999, the Voodoo 3 and all its competing cards were always being put through their paces with Quake 3 Arena here, and as for the results on the 3000, it rendered all 1260 frames in 18.7 seconds and an average of 67.2 frames per second. And then the 3500 TV, same amount of frames in 16 seconds and 78.6 FPS average, which, you know, would actually make a little bit of a difference on here, seeing as this monitor is displaying at 75 Hertz. But it's over 60 either way, so either card is just fine. The next game benchmark I'm going to be using is Forsaken, another go-to from 1999. And while this is running at the maximum graphical settings, it doesn't go up to 800 by 600, so we're sticking with 640 by 480. It's running at 3 times speed, and effectively it's just a replay of a death match. And yeah, goes through as fast as it can and gives you an average frame per second result at the end. This was a very close one. So the 3000, we ended up with 74.71 FPS. And the 3500, 74.73. Effectively no difference whatsoever. And the next couple games are just personal favorites that I wanted to try out, and I was always happy to see them run well whenever they did back in the day, and the first one of those is Midtown Madness 2, running at 800 by 600, 16-bit color and all the highest settings. And as this doesn't have a built-in benchmarking tool, I just have Fraps going so you can see the current FPS in the top left there, and I'm just going to let the car sit here until we get hit by the bus. And then I just raced around a little bit and tried to get the gameplay to match up as close as I could. And these cards, again, are so close in this one that it effectively makes no difference. I mean, the 3500 is, again, technically a little bit faster, but not enough that you would really notice a difference. Even just sitting here at this intersection and letting traffic go by, it's either in the upper 30s or low 40s. And then the last actual game I want to try out here is Max Payne from 2001, so a little bit later. Definitely a game that would benefit from a much more performant kind of 32-bit and all that, but yeah, Voodoo 3 is actually quite capable of handling this game if you pair it with a nice CPU like we have here. And again, just going side by side, you've got the N-Engine introduction going here, and the numbers are just so close that I couldn't tell the difference just looking at the games without any numbers. Both cards in this configuration, this PC, end up in the mid-20s to mid-30s most of the time, unless just a bunch of crazy stuff is going on. But in terms of the moments of the game where I can get the most direct comparison, where it's the camera flying by and doing an in-engine cutscene like this here, where we're about to enter Roscoe Street Station, it's just like the same card effectively. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the 3000 does have that Noctua cooling fan slapped on there just to assist the onboard passive cooling, because it really isn't enough. I don't think there's any throttling that happens on these cards, regardless of how hot they run. They will just cook themselves to death if you let them, but I just wanted to mention that because it's really the only difference going on other than clock speed. But yeah, once you get in the game and Max is just kind of standing around there and 3000 being closer to 34 and a 3500 being closer to 36, it makes no difference in this exact case. And then finally, the last one is not a game, but a synthetic benchmark, 3D Mark 99 Max, another go-to for practically every press benchmarking of graphics cards from 1999. And I'm just running a handful, actually just 9 of the tests, also at 800 by 600 and 16-bit color, which all of these have been running at, except for Forsaken. That was the only one that didn't support that resolution, but everything else has been 16-bit 800 by 600. And yeah, as these run through its sort of wipeout looking thing and generic sci-fi FPS looking thing, and the other few tests that we have for graphics, the results are 6242 on the 3000 and 6442 on the 3500. So what does it come down to for this? I mean, both cards are good. They're Voodoo 3s. Obviously, the difference between like the 2000 and the 3500 would be presumably even more exaggerated. And although it's outside of the scope of this video, I'd also be curious to see what would happen if we swapped out for a much slower Pentium 3 instead of the 1 GHz one that's in here, maybe going down to 550 or something. Regardless, the Voodoo 3 3000 is still quite a capable enough card for me in this setup. And of course, one could also go about overclocking the thing. You can definitely get it up to the 183 MHz of the 3500. I don't know if we've really learned too much here, actually. I feel like maybe I know a bit less now. You know, whatever. I mean, the 3500, the biggest appeal for me wasn't really the extra clock speed. It's nice to have from the factory, but it's all the TV stuff that was most interesting to me back in the day, as well as now. Being able to do the TV capture stuff on a Voodoo card is just neat. And I guess for that reason and its relative scarcity compared to the other models, they go for a lot, or at least people are asking a lot for them. And they always have. And that's why I was so really excited to find one on Shop Goodwill several years ago. That said, I don't think I'm going to be using it. It's just not worth having that ridiculous dongle hanging out the back. If this was one of the variants or the compact version that had VGA and got rid of the whole dongle entirely, that'd be great. You know, it'd be a nice thing to have just as a Voodoo 3 3000 with a little bit extra spice. But it's not really necessary. The difference that I'm seeing here is so minuscule that I'm happy to continue using the Voodoo 3 3000 AGP card and it's perfectly fine. The TV stuff is nice, but you gotta commit to that dongle life, and nobody wants to do that. And if you had one of these back in the day, let me know what you did with it. Like if you made substantial use of all the TV and FM radio and capturing and video editing stuff, or I don't know, maybe you ended up missing the dongle after a while. I found several of these cards over the years and they don't have the dongle and it's effectively useless. Anyway, feel free to leave any of those memories and thoughts down below and stick around for more LGR things always in the works for some time in the future. And thank you very much for watching.